Okay, so this is Spartan Code. I'm Frank Castle. Again, talking to you. I know, podcast. You got to hear me again. Anyways, I'm talking today to our guest.
Joe Theodorou,
Yep, with the um,
Warrior Memorial Wreath Foundation.
Warrior Memorial Reef, which we'll go into that because we were just talking, and I was trying to explain. I'm like, hey, what does driving a tank, technology and all that stuff do and all that. And it was like, well, how does a guy with a degree in electrical engineering end up driving a tank into Baghdad? That's it. I was driving tanks. I'm moving and grooving. And our tank made it, and we made it, and we survived. And, not many people can say they drove a tank into a hostile city. But, anyways, part of that is, I lost my old tank commander, Sergeant First Class Slaughter. And I tell people, yeah, me, Sergeant Slaughter, and Bertha May rode into Baghdad. And that is the joke. It is a true joke. But looking for ways to memorialize because, like, for me, myself, how can I honor and respect those that served with me that have been through that stuff? And now I want to introduce Joe and bring on all the good stuff.
Well, Frank, first off, thank you for having me on your podcast. Yep. Joe Theodore, the founder and president of Warrior Memorial Wreath Foundation. I'm still active duty, 28 years as a CW05 in the Navy here. Work at the Naval Experimental Dive Unit, and I'm retiring this year. So
Awesome.
1 week until I'm on terminal leave. So I'm looking forward to a really new chapter of my life.
It is. And I tell you what, even though I call it I ramped down because I went active duty, combat deployments every other year kind of stuff to National Guard, some deployments here and there, and hurricanes. And when I retired fully in 2020 after COVID, I was like, thank goodness. But I was like, I still have stuff to do.
Yeah.
So I think you are doing the right thing and filling up your time as you're easing out.
Yeah, and I can I can't relate to 2003. You were 6 years ahead of me before I set foot in Iraq, but I appreciate everything that you and your team did. I know going back, a lot of vets have issues from the beginning, and it was a little hard for them, and I really look to you know kind of pay back. Um, my time, not just to them, but for all our veterans and our first responders and even our canines,
Yeah.
because a lot of them have gone through stuff that, I call it Warrior Memorial Wreaths. And a warrior, we always think of the veteran, but, we have our first responders there too that go into our communities and they see the worst of the worst, just
Yeah.
like our veterans and our canines too. So um, I started this 2023. My son kind of came to me. He's like, "Dad, you always tell me what to do, and you're not doing what you want to do." And
Yeah.
so I was like, "Okay, son, fine, I'll start." And my wife's like, "I want that. This is my birthday present." So I was like, "Okay, well, I put forth, kind of spoke to my neighbor. My neighbor is business savvy and wants to help with business plans. And I started talking to him. He's like, "Man, you're really passionate about the military, and
Yeah.
and I think you should start a nonprofit." And so September 11th, 2023, I submitted my uh, business nonprofit to the state of Florida, followed with by to the IRS, and then we
Yeah.
received our nonprofit status in December.
Awesome.
So from basically January 1st to 2024, we've started off slowly and are, making sure everything is in place and correct, from legalities to marketing to our website to everything, and getting the word out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And, my story, I kind of started the company because my old tank commander was going to be available, and he had fully retired. After he retired from active duty, he had done a lot of training over there, and then fully retired and was supporting his wife and following her around in her career because guess what? She was emergency management, emergency response, and I mean it kind of flows together. I've worked with a lot of emergency management folks for storms over the years, including Hurricane Michael here, and it's stuff that has to be done, and it's got to be done at the worst time, and sometimes you got to shoulder your own burdens and just push through. So, love the concept, love how it's going through. And it's no small feat to get all that paperwork and everything in place. I think it's a good chunk of time right there. Just saying just those things and getting through them, it's huge because when you've done something like that before, there is all this other stuff. It's not just all come to the podcast and talk about it. There is a lot of work and a lot of money and a lot of paperwork and stuff to make sure everything's in order so that you can move on and do your business in the proper way. So I think it's an interesting story. Part of the thing with Spartan Code and what I tell people with veterans, and I'm like, hey, when I see another veteran and when I talk to some of my brothers I served with, they all have built small communities around themselves, and myself included. And, you know, I don't know Joe. I ran into my friend that is actually working on building these reefs, Steve, and we traded numbers and ended up saying, hey, you want to come on the podcast? Because I love this idea. Me, myself, being a veteran and being a diver, uh, when my time has come, I know where I want to go, and I want to go into the Gulf. So, Joe, here you go. Let's talk
yes,
about Steve.
yeah. So I met. Well, I've known Steve Mulholland for a long time in the Navy diver community. So we go back, 20 plus years. And then, so we were, I had this, what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to do these memorial reefs and for veterans, first responders. And I ended up going to the county to the coastal resource coordinator to kind of understand the permit process.
Yeah.
So as I'm there, I'm talking with Chantel Weber, the coastal resource coordinator, and she's like, "Oh, well, Steve Mulholland is wanting to do the same thing." And so, and I talked to Steve earlier about, hey, I want to start a nonprofit. Can you kind of give me some guidance? But I didn't tell him what I was doing, and so it was kind of funny how we were crossing paths there. And so Steve, I talked with Steve, and maybe about a month later, Steve's like, "Hey, will you put this military divers memorial down for me? Will you work the logistics and get that down?" And I said, "Absolutely, Steve. I'll work that." And so um, we partnered up, Man the Sea Museum and the Warrior Memorial Wreath Foundation. I worked with the Naval Dives School, and we used the YDT boat. We used a advanced dive team out there, and we went out there and placed the military divers memorial. And I worked with Chantil to get the whole permit process with the county, and they came out. My wife is on the board; she's the vice president, and we went out there and placed it. And we got captured video, and had Steve Mulholland out there, and it worked great. And we really appreciate the dive school for supporting that effort for our military divers in the community.
That's so awesome to hear.
Yeah.
I've dove uh, hovercraft, a bunch of the other sites, and one of my friends, close friends when I moved here, Gordon Villers, worked on some of the early Sea Lab and stuff there. And I tell people, I'm all like, Panama City has a place in diving history. I mean, it's at one point in my career, I thought I was going to go to the Army diving school, and I was like, and I would have ended up here, but I ended up here because I get out of the Army and I'm on my way back to Texas, and I stop here, and I'm like, I like it here. The diving's good, and you can make a life, you can build a community, and that's what I think it's all about. If we just want to jump over and talk about the history and different underwater sites. There's some stuff at 30A where I know there's some underwater artwork. You go there, but I know there's some other stuff like the military underwater trail.
Yeah, so I was asked by Chantel Weber to be a part of the Underwater Military Heritage Trail as part of Bay County, and this stretches not just from Bay County but to Escambia. So we had all the county uh, leads, coastal resource coordinators, or the coastal managers on there, and or I should say, the county has come to Bay County's commissioners that already approved the Underwater Military Heritage Trail, and all the other counties are following suit. We expect an announcement in May, and from what's going to happen is we'll start laying down some more military heritage type equipment underwater for people to go visit. It'll bring obviously people around all the different counties to dive on, and also increase the fish life around that area, which
Yeah, I I think that's a huge thing because not a lot of people realize that most of the Gulf is just empty swaths of sand.
mhm,
And I grew up in Houston, and whenever we go offshore fishing, we'd always go to the oil rigs.
yeah,
And any structure, it like creates marine life, and it's just wonderful to see. I've been to a couple spots out here, including the Red Sea. My friend Gomez helped them get that sunk, and some other dive organizations here. And you know, it's always frustrating because there is so much logistical stuff to getting a site put out there. But
mhm,
the benefits afterwards, when you've dove a site and you've watched it over the years become, just an underwater boat, and then all of a sudden stuff's growing on it, stuff's living in it, and you have a whole ecosystem that's out in the middle of the sand.
yeah,
So,
yeah. It's incredible that how quickly too that they produce the biomass on the artificial reefs, and then the fish life that come with it. So it's uh it's an amazing process, and we need that here in Bay County. We need the artificial reefs. Our uh, uh, from what I told Michael really damaged the underwater life out there,
yep.
and we're trying to get that back. And we have one of the largest dive clubs in Northwest Florida, if not Florida, that I know of, and we need to have our visitors come and enjoy their time when they come down to go dive on different places. And as I'm learning more and more about uh, the coastline and the underwater habitats out there, uh, it's yeah, I'm going to go build these art memorial reefs, but it's more than that. We need those structures underwater. It helps our coastline. It helps our our fishing. It helps our tourism. There's a lot of economical impacts to having that artificial reef areas
Yeah.
out there. And with Chantel Weber, she is right now, well, I should say Bay County has placed or has submitted a permit for I want to say it's a 6,000 acre plot for it's going to be called Legacy Reefs. And it's going to
Nice.
be for memorials out there. It's going to have the whole heritage piece in there as well. I don't want to go too much into it because I know Chantil is the lead. So,
Yeah.
but
And like, so like, it's funny how we run in these small communities, but we all run into similar stuff. So, like, one of the things that I was talking with Derek about before he passed away um, was figuring out a way to like digitally store stuff because we've had some guys, Smitty and Derek now, that, you know, you lose over the years, but you stay in touch. Anybody that's been in a tight knit unit knows, you get back, you can't wait to be away from everybody. And then a week later, you're wondering, hey, what are you doing, man? It's just the way it is. So, we stay in touch. And the hard thing is, you know, there's almost like a digital aspect to a lot of memorials now. And, I've had some friends that I haven't been around for the ceremonial part or whatever, but there's still, I think, an important part of having a lasting memorial. And one of the things that I'm trying to do with the book, because it's just my side of the story, and you know, I'm going in, I don't remember everything, and I'm making some stuff up because I want to write an entertaining book, but also have a story about the real facts about based on stuff that we do know. And you know, how do we, like, I guess the concept I'm looking at is there a way to tie in digital memories that we've had over the years with like a physical memorial?
Yes. So with what we're doing is I'm working with Steve Harmon of Harmon Metal Arts, and we've fabricated a 8 foot by 8 foot by 8 foot memorial tetrahedral memorial, and on top there's a interring area. So that way we can go out there and pre-position these reefs out already there, to ready for that veteran, that first responder to to memorialize, to pay tribute to, and to honor. And with those reefs, what's kind of cool because they're made out of metal, so we can actually put uh, like the Army logo on the sides. We can
Yeah,
blow through, or we can put Navy logo, or we can put, if you were a SEAL, EOD, or whoever, we can put that logo on the side to pay tribute to that individual, or a police badge. I think you understand what I'm trying to accomplish here is, when divers go down there, yeah, it might be growth, like you might not see it or whatever, but the family will remember that.
right.
And, even after, our brothers and sisters have passed away, we're still there to help their families and support their families.
Um,
And that's important to me. That's important to our foundation. We want to pay tribute, but we also want to, make the families happy in a place they can go to and they can celebrate the life, because that's really what it is. It's not really, yes, it's a memorial, but it's a celebration. And that's the
Yeah,
way we want to ensure that when we do these um, burials at sea, that it's a celebration of life. Yes, there'll be some, uh, it'll be emotional out there, but at the same time, it's a celebration of their life and their legacy that they're leaving behind. And so we can also have the, I'll just, I'll put out Memorial Day. We're going to be placing an Army Vietnam vet, his remains in one of the memorials, and his son has never dove before, is going to get certified so he can dive down there and place his father in there with family memories. So just that personal connection for him, for us, it's just a, it's just a very, to me, it's exciting to see uh, that connection. And then I get the Army divers to come out and support him and his father. So kind of what I'm doing is, if it's a Navy guy, I'll have Navy divers out there. If it's an Army, Marines, I'm going to have them
yeah.
supporting their brother or their sister that they place in there. Police, the same thing, police department. So that's kind of what how our mission, our vision is to have that lasting effect.
And I think we were talking. I don't know if I'd mentioned it here yet, but being third ID, Fort Stewart, Georgia, when I was Red Platoon, the the hard part is it's like, okay, were we really 464? Not really, because we were cross attached to 315. Well, was I 315? No. Was I in the tank company in 315? No, I was actually in an infantry company. We were the lone tank platoon, so four little tanks and a couple of Bradleys. And I'm like, man, when you are typically used to being around your own folks, it changes, but it's nice. But anyways, my point was that Third ID at Fort Stewart, they started planting trees. And when I got back in 2003, in the fall of 2003, there weren't a lot of trees. And then when I got back from my other deployment in 2005, there were more trees. And then when I went back, I was actually in the Florida National Guard as an officer. I'd switched over to a cavalry or armor officer, technically. And I was back there in 2010, and I was like, oh, there's a lot more trees. And it's just like, it is humbling and makes you appreciate what we got when, for me, those are not remains memorials, but they're memorials that signify people that I've known and worked with. Um, you know, um, One of the guys, he became a first sergeant on that second tour, and we had to go secure the site where they got hit with a 500-pound bomb under a berm. And it's like, man, uh, that's that's a significant tree to me.
Yeah.
So
I'll tell you some of the future stuff that we're looking at doing, and I'm waiting on Senator Scott's staff to get back to me, but I'm submitting a House Committee Veterans Affairs letter requesting legislation to allow artificial reefs as a pilot program to their green burial program. Because currently the National Cemeteries Association is doing a green burial within the cemeteries and certain cemeteries. So I would like to see that the artificial reefs be part of that burial or that green burial pilot program. And maybe eventually one day we'll have an underwater military national cemetery. And I think that'll be, and I'd like to see it here in Bay County.
well, let me know, and I'll give you my support right here because my father, who served in the Navy um, during the NOM era, but was electronics tech. But when he sat there and he told me it would cost too much to have his remains put in the Texas flower gardens as a veteran, I was like, you're kidding me. You're worrying about the money to put your remains there. And it's like, that ain't going to happen to me, buddy. I'm like, prepay that stuff and know where you're going to go. And it just, it, the national uh, funeral service, for those that don't know, um, and, you know, any veteran, if you've ever had to do an honor guard, and I think it should be mandatory for people in the service to do at least one honor guard and hold the flag for a fallen soldier, you know? Because until you do that, a lot of times as a military member, you don't think about that. You don't think you're risking your life all the time. You know, first responders, folks like that. I remember 9/11, and people were like, "Oh, it's so crazy." People, firefighters went running, and I'm all like, "Yeah, that's how some people are wired." And you find it in the military, you find it in first responders, and it's just like, yeah, and you at least want to say thanks.
Yeah. They got to know we got their backs,
Yep.
and we're going to continue to support them as our brothers and sisters. Veterans or first responders, there are warriors in this country, and we need to
Yeah.
pay tribute to them and that, man, take care of their families.
And I tell people, I'm all like, you want to see a society that's going to collapse.
Yeah.
You see a society that doesn't appreciate their veterans, doesn't appreciate people that, put their lives at risk for this.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, like, you know, um, I got this watch from our old interpreter, Hot Rod. Um, anyway, he gets nothing. He lost the lottery and he didn't make it back. Well, he lived in Iraq, but they killed him because of it and his family. And that's what you're dealing with. And it's like, man, sure hope that doesn't come back to the States.
No,
So,
yeah, we ask a lot of other people to do stuff, um, volunteer, and to do, the work of the government, and we need to make sure that we take care of them. Um, and kind of my goal, one of my goals, is to have the wreaths be donated by people and by companies. And what we do there is we place a plaque on the side that has from Mr. and Mrs. or from a company, so that that family knows who donated that wreath to that veteran, first responder,
yeah,
K9. And that's kind of want to pay it forward to everyone, and to know that, we're not just, we're doing two things. We're honoring the past, we're restoring the future. And that's that's a great thing for the community, for the nation to be involved in. And we have a lot of veterans, and I'm not sure about the first responders, but I'm assuming they're in these hospice care. They don't have any families. They don't have loved ones that are taking care of them. And then what do they do with those individuals? Where do they go? You know, uh, Florida. Let me have them. I'll know who they are. I'll find out what they did, and we'll make sure that we honor them, put them in a place that is, um, you know, quiet beneath the ocean, where they're still serving, and bring them back to the community.
yeah,
And if if the state wants to, uh, bring them forth, I'll do it.
yeah.
I'll do it.
As a diver, and most of my diving's recreational, especially spearfishing. But I have gone down to sites where all it was like some wire racks, and the life hanging out on like a 6 foot tall 4x4 wire rack is just incredible. And seeing that, and if anybody gets a chance, go see some of these reefs. I think we got one on display right now at the Man in the Sea
We do,
Museum,
yes.
and it's awesome. I went a special trip out there to take a picture with it, and you know, it it's the creation of life in the ocean, and our Gulf here is so full of life. It's crazy. We have fishing boats that go into the middle of it from all over the world. And I tell people, like, there's a reason why, these boats are coming from Japan to do fishing. And it's a wonderful place. Growing up in Houston in the oil and gas industry, I really thought my career was going to end up being an underwater welder or something. And that's what I was geared to until fate had it. I ended up in the Army. So, and then driving tanks.
We do have the Memorial Day for Tommy Mullis, excuse me. Tommy Mullis, we're still waiting for his DD 214, so we know, what his final rank was, and he did serve during Vietnam. So we'll get that 214. We'll put it out to the public who this man was, and what he did for the country. And then what we're going to ask for the community is we're going to do a procession. We're going to do a celebration of life at the Man of the Sea Museum on Memorial Day. We'll do a procession from the Man of the Sea Museum to Captain Anderson's Marina. And from there, we're going to take the family out and we're going to ask that, and I still got to clear it with the Harbor Patrol, but we're trying to get the boats, everyone that wants to come out and be a part of this, is get their boats with their American flags on. And as we
Nice.
go out the harbor, they're standing by, let the family go through, and then follow behind them, and then get them out and circle up around while John Mullis, Tommy Mullis's son, places him in that memorial. So we really want that community support behind our veterans and our warriors, whoever they served, whether it's a veteran or a first responder or even a canine. We know what the canines have done for us, and they put their lives in danger for us, and it's important to pay respect to our four-legged friends. Um,
I you know, I joke a little, but uh, we used to feed some dogs at some guard outposts because the dogs would stop barking at us, but if somebody else came by, they'd let you know. I was all like, "Hey, man, if this all it takes is a little bit of my MRE to help
yeah,
you multiply my forces and give me just a little bit of early warning, why not?"
yeah,
You know, and yeah, it's I don't know if I mentioned it. I mentioned it on another episode, but I was loosely involved with the Dora's Garden. It's the U.S. version of Nemo's Garden, and I don't know if you know Les Burke and all those folks.
okay,
But they're trying to get that and other stuff where they're actually trying to grow plants under the water, and they're finding that the extra pressure or nitrogen, they really don't know. We actually had someone from some of these marine biology places wanting to know if we got these things up and running. And I'm all like, "Hey, man, I'm an electric guy. I can do all the sensors and doodads and all that other stuff." And but programs like this, they run into the dome was damaged by a boat with a prop, and once you have something like that and you have a hiccup, it it's really hard when you're a nonprofit because there's got to be someone up there pushing it forward. And it's really hard when people have other lives and commitments and stuff. So thank you so much for doing this, and thank you again for coming on the show.
yeah. It's my pleasure.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, Frank.
So here we go, another episode of Spartan Code, talking about diving and military stuff. Do you want to talk about any of your military stuff? Coolest thing you ever did? Deepest you ever dove?
Well, I've done a lot of cool stuff, so it's hard to kind of go back
Yeah.
and kind of talk about that. But deepest I've dove is about 285, mixed gas, hard hat diving.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been all over the world. During that time, for a lot of the veterans and for for the community that don't understand veterans or military personnel, especially in deploying consistently. I, from one period, I deployed from 2006 all the way to 2012
Yeah.
consistently. And, when your brain is just going, 100 miles an hour and all of a sudden you hit the emergency brake, uh, it kind of does a little bit of reset, and it takes a little bit for that veteran or that um, active military person to kind of, you know, get their bearings. It is a real thing, especially when you serve 20 plus years. It wears on people,
Yeah.
and bringing attention to that, uh, you know, for our veterans too, out there, that think they don't have someone they can turn to, or if they don't have um, if they don't know what they have, to go go talk to someone to help out. We lose too many veterans to suicide every day, and it's just too much. And we really need to take care of them that gave us so much for our freedoms. And yeah, I'm in the military, but still our freedom, and support and defend that, every day. Um, so yeah.